Hello. I wanted to make this video to explain the story behind my EP Hellheart. So yeah, so the story behind the Hellheart EP is it begins with two young lovers. One is named Janie and one is named Danny. And they fall in love. They have an intense, burning passion. And um, that's the song Maybe Baby, kind of, because the lyrics in the song are very, all or nothing. Um, and I feel like a lot of times especially when you first fall in love, that's kind of how it feels like. You're just like, nothing matters except this person, we're the same person, that kind of thing. So the lyrics in the song reflect that. And I made this this was like supposed to be an animation of Danny, that I think is kind of cute. I know it's not very good, but it's cute. Anyway, but Danny has a drug problem, and so Janie's thinking to herself, how can I get him to quit doing drugs? Oh, I know. I'll get pregnant by him and then kind of use this baby to guilt him into, getting off drugs. So a very naive, manipulative plan that she comes up with. And so she comes up with this plan. Danny figures out what she did, and so he leaves her. And then she goes psychotic with desire and longing and agony, because now here she is alone without her true love, pregnant. So she sings that's the Danny, Danny, Danny song, like, Danny, 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 where'd you go? That's probably the worst song on the EP. It's like, I struggled so hard with mixing those vocals, and it's a rough song to listen to. But if you go to my instrumental, because for all my EPs, I have an instrumental, just instrumentals, because I make all my own instrumentals. If you listen to the instrumentals, it's actually really good. The one with the vocals though is very bad. It's hard to listen to, but yeah. So that's that one, and so she goes psychotic. She gives birth to the child through C-section, and so she's there with this brand new baby, totally psychotic and insane. And in her psychosis, she's like, I bet I can reverse time by cutting open my C-section scars and shoving the child back up inside of my stomach and then like closing it, right? So the third song, Cut Me Back, is sung from the perspective of the newborn baby, where, I mean, I obviously, like, the baby's not going to be conscious enough, but if the baby could sing a song, he's kind of like, she's not making any logical sense, she's dripping with blood and she's shaking, like, she cut me out, now she's going to cut me back in, is kind of how that one goes. Anyway, so she does that and she dies, and the baby like lays inside of her, and then the devil was supposed to appear. I was going to have the devil come in the form of like a white dog, and he was going to cast a spell on her corpse and the baby inside, that her corpse kind of like remains in this state of like living flesh, but she's dead consciously, so the baby can like feed off of her body and stay alive, because the devil wants a demon to walk the earth, and so he hopes that this cannibalistic baby can be born into like a devil. Anyway, so that, and then this part, keep the heat on for my love, that's sung from the perspective of Danny. So Danny's off in like some drug den, doing drugs all the time, feeling really guilty about leaving his pregnant girlfriend, but also being really angry at her that she tried to control him. And so the song is kind of him sort of mocking himself, like, I'm a drug dealer, I have a girlfriend, like, he's mocking his own existence. And then the last part's this like really tender part that I'm actually really proud of, because I feel like it's so pretty, where he's like kind of like apologizing to her, but he's like, I'll always love you, like I'll always keep the heat on, but of course it's too late because she's now the host for a demon, right? So yeah, and the song Criminal Visuals. Honestly, that song is kind of just like a random song. If I had to put it, the way I was gonna work it into the story was just that some delinquent boys see the house that's like still housing this corpse, right? And it's like a rundown old house, like no one's been in there because it's just like housing this like host to a new demon. And so the boys like break in and they find her body, which by now is like huge and bloated, and they can see through the flesh, like through the flesh, that there's like a being standing in there. And so since they're delinquent boys and they have no fear of anything, they're like, oh my god, we should like cut that open, like what's in there. And so that was kind of like the Criminal Visuals song. But I mean, if you listen to the Criminal Visuals song, the lyrics, it's a lot, Criminal Visuals is a lot more about how people justify their violence by being like, well, it really matters, right? I always think that's interesting. I don't know if you notice people go like, well, I only did that because, I really meant that. I don't know. It's always like kind of like an interesting sort of like moralistic argument. Because I know in my life, like if I've like messed up with someone, like if I've like been mean to someone or something like that, it's kind of like a moral trap to be like, well, it was okay because of like this thing that was really meaningful or something. It's better to kind of, take like a more objective stance and go like, well, I said something really mean. And even though, I feel like it has, like, I was like in a tough spot, or like maybe they had done something that was mean initially, it doesn't really justify like the meanness back. So it's kind of just me wrestling with, the Criminal Visual song is really just me wrestling with my sort of kind of like anger management issues, or like just meaning to take accountability for my own actions, regardless of me being like, well, it's okay, you know what I'm saying? It might be kind of like too complicated, but anyway, but I kind of shoehorned that song in there to kind of reflect these teenage boys cutting open this corpse, but it probably doesn't really work. But anyway, then the last song is Hellheart, and I know it's kind of a weird song to listen to. I listen to it occasionally, but it's definitely more like a spoken word. I don't really know exactly what it is, but also my vocals sounded so bad on it. I know I'm trying to become a better singer. I know I'm not that very, very good of a singer. I'm like, I have a vocal coach, and I'm like training my ear and everything. So yeah, but so the vocals are rough at times. I mean, even on the songs that I feel like are good, my vocals are kind of bad, but it's how you learn. You have to try. But yeah, the vocals were so horrible on the Hellheart song that I tried to just kind of make the pitch shift in like the editing to make it sound like a man was singing. And it did sound like a man, but it sounded so like kind of bad. I was like, I'm just gonna make this a demon. So I changed it just kind of to like this demon, because when the criminal boys cut open the body, the demon is born, right? And so it's like this being that walks on earth, that is going to do evil now. And if you listen to the lyrics, I know they're kind of hard to hear in the Hellheart song because it's like very distorted, like demon talk. It's like you are a weapon. I can't remember them now. It's something, but it's kind of trying to speak to, I think a lot of times people use their children as weapons. And I mean, the whole like Hellheart thing is kind of like a metaphor for generational trauma. And I find like a lot of times people use their children against like a lot of times as spouses have like issues with each other, they'll sort of like make the children like hate one of the other spouse. It's like really common in families, and sometimes I feel like a lot of times people use their kids as weapons against each other, or like weapons against their own existence, because I think a lot of times people want their children to validate their own existence, and when the kid doesn't do that, the parent gets really mad because it's like the kid isn't doing the right thing, according to the parent. And so it's kind of like trying to talk about generational trauma and how children are a lot of times these sort of agents of agony because their parents are so in so much pain. The only thing they can really give to their children is pain, because that's really all they have. I know it's depressing, but I mean, that's a lot of people have had a lot of horrible things happen to them, and they're just in pain, and if they have children, that's really the only thing they can give them, because that's all they have, so it is something that's very unfortunate and sad. But yeah, that's the idea and story behind the Hell Heart EP. Yeah, thank you for watching.